Yep.
Thank you very much, Rob. So indeed, very good afternoon. Thank you very much for sticking with us. I'll be clear and short so I can leave you to go for still some shopping before you all go home. So my name is Olivier Plaitin. I'm the head of IT Operations at Brussels Airlines. And as Rob explained, I have a profile where I come from a low-cost carrier and moved on to a more classic national carrier. Brussels Airlines is indeed a complex airline with lots of history. We were born from the ashes of Sabina, and therefore we inherited all the legacy system. So basically, I would like to explain to you what my reality is, and that today I'm really glad to be on this side of the microphone. Why is that? Because I had to do a big exercise when I hear everybody talking for the couple of last years about new mobile solution, new customer self-service portal, and all the dynamics and the flexibility that guys are offering now to our passenger. And I actually had still to live with very high standardized legacy system, which are very rigid and very complex to operate. Now, every single change that we wanted to do on the system, first of all, costed a lot of money, but requested lots of resources and really specialized resources, which are not that much available on the market. And then my time to deploy became actually very long. Plus the fact that we don't have many airlines running anymore on those systems, so which really made it even more difficult to operate and perform change management. Now, I don't need to tell this a lot. Change is crucial in our industry, and if we want to adapt, we need to do that in a certain way. And today, all our managements are actually pushing us to support new market penetrations, to support the service differentiation. We are an airline, we're not like any others, and we want to do some specific stuff. Of course, we want to reduce costs, embrace mobility, and become agile in delivering new services and new ideas that people from the business do have. But then again, how do I do that with all those systems? I do not have the luxury of saying, "Oh, let's kick PSS out and let's take a new one." I'm not like any new airline where I can have the choice for a modern system. Nor do I have the budget just to adapt any of my systems to the latest technology. So basically the idea here is to show how Brussels Airlines did to bring that layer of flexibility. So we decided to do two things. The first one is that we analyzed the introduction of new technologies that we did within Brussels Airlines, because we didn't wait until this exercise to propose to our passenger self-check-in or to use web services from different systems. We recently migrated our booking engine to Datalex. But even if we added a new booking engine with web services available to the public, it is not going to talk with different other systems of mine. It's going to be, again, a very silo effect, and I'm not going to be able to beneficiate from it completely transversal. So the second thing we did is that we did, okay, but what does live in my business? So we started interviewing all our VPs and asking them, okay, guys, what are your visions? What do you expect to deliver to the market so that we could have a grasp of the scope that we needed to do? And these were basically a summary of our findings. The first one is really obvious. Everybody knows that. We're going away from sedentarization. Now, less and less people have fixed position. They want to be mobile. On the second hand, and this is more airline related, the operations do follow the same trend. Now, fixed base position is going to disappear, and we want to go to a more flexible process. The strength and success of mobile or self-service solution, because the mobile is just one expression of the self-service that you want to give to your passenger, relies not on the silo effect. You need to integrate various services from different applications and from different data source. And you actually need to be able to integrate all of them. And the last one, which is as well really important that we forgot a lot, is that data produced by one department or by one process needs to be reused as well. So it's not only interfacing, it's actually providing the accurate data to one another so that we can perform processes in other processes in turn. So obviously, if you want to do that exercise, it's going to be very hard to convince your management that you want to invest millions in adding a new layer of infrastructure into your IT system, because your legacy systems already cost a fortune. So you're not in times where we need to reduce costs and when you need to be agile, that you're going to get a big check to invest in a SOA environment. So, and on the other hand, if you want to invent new small processes here and there to facilitate or to accommodate your passenger, you will not beneficiate from the entire transversality that you want to reach across all your systems. So what you need to do really is look at an opportunity. And our opportunity came with a project that we launched when the low-cost carriers' pressure became one level higher, when Ryanair decided to fly to Brussels Airport. It stimulated even more Brussels Airlines to change, and we decided to create a project which is called NPG, which stands for New Project Generation. And I'm not going to go into details, but you can read on the left-hand side a couple of processes that has been reviewed onto there. But I want to use this project because it really it touched every single department in the company. And this gave IT the opportunity to actually address this issue globally. So I'm going to take two examples. The first one is the mobile payment at the gate. So mobile payment at the gate, it is basically Brussels Airlines decided to introduce, as from September, a naked ticket. A naked ticket is not an Adam and Eve thing on board of our aircraft. It's just basically that you can purchase a ticket without bags. And if you start selling those kinds of tickets, you will always have the smart passengers who buy a baggageless ticket and then go to the airport with their luggages, hide it somewhere, do their check-in, and then run up to the gate. So what happens is that your ground personnel at time of boarding, they will have an extension of work. They will have work because they need to deal with those passengers. They will detect those luggages and say, oh, but I'm sorry, sir, you need to check in those bags. Which means that, again, the boarding process is being delayed, and you have that single person that is there and that needs to take on of that process. So what we decided to do is that we decided to create a dedicated team of persons that will run around Brussels Airport with these kinds of devices added with a payment gateway attached to it. And basically that application is actually going to read the boarding pass of the passengers, define that it is indeed a naked ticket, and that we need to process their baggages, so collect the payment, and so on. So what does it mean? It means that we need to create an application that will consume web services to our backends, and those backends will be different because we'll have to talk to the DCS, we'll have to talk to the PSS, we'll have to talk to the EMD system. So here we already have one process that will talk to a multiple system. The second example I'd like to take is that one of our motto of Brussels Airlines since September is we want to be the most personal airline. So how can you be the most personal airline when our staff at the airport are not in a position to help a passenger if they are in the middle of the terminal? So imagine that the passenger comes running to you, your customer service agent, and that passenger would like to catch an earlier flight and would like to change his tickets, and he runs to you and to say, sir, can you help me? And unfortunately, the only answer you can give him, I'm really sorry, sir, you will have to run to the next customer service desk. This is not helping the customers today. We need to be able to give our employees the tools so that they can give the right service to a passenger wherever they are, whenever they are. So this was basically NPG and how we received the opportunity to develop those kinds of extra services. So obviously, I'm not going to go too much into the technical details. I think you can ask the questions if you want, or we can discuss this afterwards. But the technical answer that we find to address these issues is actually to have a SOA layer, a service-oriented architecture that we could deploy on top of our legacy systems and the various systems. So we started again from all the processes we have, but of course we still had underneath all those high standardizations, so there was nothing that we can do actually there. But what we started doing is that based on those processes, we decided to build new processes. And those new processes were exactly the processes that had the le plus petit dénominateur commun. I don't know how you say that in English, but the least, to go to the best granularity. So that basically that granularity could be reused to build other web services. So for instance, this new process A is being built on 2 other legacy processes to get that information. This one is just a copy of that presentation. So you will ask me, okay, why should I start copying web services that already have in my system? Well, basically, because there's an added value of having that is that there's a question of costs. Because consuming the legacy system is going to cost you money. Well, if you put your own web services in place, you control that one and you don't need to pay for that one. So that means that you become very much more cost effective in that way. So same for process B and D. And then of course what you can do is that you can even have a process D that's going to be fed by another process. So basically you can build your own logic. So this way we are again as IT completely transversal through all the processes that you have for your airline. And at least IT will be able to support the customers, to support the employees, to support the systems, and to support any processes in a flexible and cost-effective way. So obviously, NPG has offered us a fantastic gate and to a new world for us. Because if you remember, a couple of months ago, we were still very rigid behind our legacy systems. And today, we had the means to build a whole bunch of web services that could be reused, centralized, and really cost effective. And now, IT is actually able to support the business in providing customer-facing employees with the right information. Because we control the information today. By bringing real-time services to our guests. That we talk now about mobility, and we heard a lot of examples during the session those 2 last days. That is now on the self-service portal. Actually now, any means are good. We're talking about what? We're talking about wearable technologies. So the technology is not anymore the problem because, and I'll come to that to my conclusions, you have the 30-70 ratio that you always have. Building a mobile application is easy. It doesn't cost that much. With 30K, you actually sort it out. You buy those devices for employees. That's going to cost you a couple of hundred of euros. But what really costs you a lot is accessing your data, is actually modeling your data, is actually programming the interfaces with your various systems. Obviously, it would give you additional sales opportunity. I give you the example of the persons running through the airport, and a passenger comes to you, or you can identify that passengers, and you can start offering access to the lounge. You can check his bag in. You can do all lots of services. I think that you have the freedom now to present to your different departments all the solutions that you can build. It will reduce, obviously, the operational complexity. So this comes back to what I was saying a little bit earlier with the silo effect of adding new solutions. So Brussels Airlines had its PSS, and we presented the new booking engine as being the solution to bring us more flexibility. because it had web services and that we didn't have to pay for those web services. And everybody thought, okay, this is going to be it. Actually, it didn't turn out to be exactly that way. Yes, indeed, it presented web services to the internet that we could reuse, but they were not integrated into the entire building of our processes. So again, we had to take those ones in so they can be reused by all our other processes. So all in all, this gave us, removed us, of course, the physical and time boundaries, because now IT is able to support the business in their process anytime, anywhere, anyhow. It's just now our imagination that is purely the limit. And this way, Brussels Airlines IT can become very agile now to support change management of the company. And we know that in these times it's really, really, really important. I don't know how much time I still have left. Okay, so I wanted then to finish and conclude with indeed repeating the fact that controlling your environment, controlling your processes, adding a service-oriented application is the answer for us for legacy systems, because we don't have the luxury of changing it. We don't have the luxury of adapting it. The costs are too high. And in this world where we change on a very, very, very fast pace, we need to take control again of that development. And if we want to be able to support new technologies, we need to invest in such a technology and come back to that 30-70 ratio, where the development of application will cost you 30,000 euros, when the development of the web services will cost you 70,000 euros. But once you have invested those 70,000 euros into that web service, you can reuse it for any other application. So voilà, thank you very much.
Just as a question down there, I mean, like what you've been doing is quite impressive. Now the question, which of course in Brussels Airport you have a lot more control. And as Brussels Airlines is probably one of the strongest airlines into markets like Africa, how do you do that in those kind of environments? Because as a customer you expect a consistent experience end to end, and not just at the home base. Indeed.
So in Africa you have, we have two kinds of advantages. The first one is that not all the airports are equipped with a queued system, so we control the environment over there. So we pull our lines, we pull our network, we put our machines behind the ticketing counters, the check-in counters, and we control all the process from E to Z. On the other side, Africa is much more developed in terms of mobile solutions. Because infrastructure being a problem there, what they decided to do is to really develop in mobile solutions. Okay. And so they were pretty much further advanced in mobile technology than we are, because they didn't put the money into the cables into the ground. We always found it, because even if we decided to pull a copper connection between the two, we always said that when they were putting one into the ground, there was another guy on the other side removing it. So this is where Africa is less complex than actually other countries. Okay. That's interesting to hear, because most people